Good evening. The key benchmark indices surged for a second straight trading session as expectations of strong June 2010 results, a recent upward revision in India's GDP growth forecast by the IMF, and the SEBI's recent decision to cut exposure margins on stock derivatives boosted sentiments. The markets extended gains to hit fresh intraday highs in morning trade as Asian stocks extended initial gains. It regained strength in mid-afternoon trade but pared gains at the end of the trading session. The markets extended last week's advance as the NSE Nifty surged past the 5,400 levels for the first time since the 6th of February 2008. The BSE Sensex also flew past the 18,000 mark in the early trades. The main indices pared early gains after the release of the IIP numbers. India's industrial output stood at 11.5% in May as against consensus estimates of 15 to 16%. Also, the government pruned April's figures to 16.5% from 17.6%. Finally, the Sensex advanced 103 points to close at 17,937 after being as high as 18,010. The Nifty rose 31 points to end at 5,383. It had earlier been as high as 5,402. This was the highest closing for the Nifty since 5th February 2008. The broader market ended in the positive terrain with the BSE Mid Cap Index and BSE Small Cap Index up by 0.6% and 0.3% respectively. On the BSE, real estate, banking and IT indices were the top gainers, rising by 1 to 2.25%. Consumer durables, oil and gas, pharma and FMCG indices closed in the red. Select telecom, media, capital goods, metals and power stocks advanced, while auto shares were generally subdued. Outside the frontline indices, the big gainers in the broader market were Educom, OptoCircuits, Jet Airways, Idea and Rolta. On the other hand, the losers included Balrampur Chini, Bajaj Holdings, Renuka Sugars and Miraco. In global markets, Japan's stock markets erased earlier gains in the wake of an election setback for the country's ruling party. Stock benchmarks rose elsewhere in Asia except for Taiwan, which finished little changed at 7,639. China's Shanghai Composite Index rose 0.8%. Hang Seng in Hong Kong rose 0.4%. Kospi in Seoul gained 11 points to close at 17,034. The S&P in Australia advanced 13 points. European shares started with gains extending last week's advance but soon turned choppy ahead of the first batch of earnings in the US. The UK's FTSE 100 index rose 11 points at 5,144, with the German DAX index was nearly flat at 6,067 and the French CAC index lost 6 points at 3,547. Copper, aluminium and oil retreated. The euro depreciated 0.5% against the dollar and the yen declined 0.3% versus the US currency. Tata Motors, HDFC Bank, DLF, ICICI Bank and TCS were amongst the top Sensex gainers. Idea Cellular, Unitech, Cairn India, Tata Motors and DLF led the Nifty up move. BPCL, Reliance Infrastructure, Hero Honda, GAIL and Reliance Communications were under pressure. The market breadth was positive on the NSE with 1,706 gainers against 1,431 losers. That's it for the day. Thank you and have a great evening ahead.